Good morning and welcome to this edition of the newspaper show right here on ET Now. I'm Cheryl D'Souza. I'll take you through the top stories that's there in the Economic Times as well as the Times of India. So let's get going with the top headlines that's there in the Economic Times this morning. And first up, Kamath Panel identifies 6 problem sectors. New margin rules, pain continues for the investors. Vodafone Idea may raise $1.5 billion via equity. SBI report claims that rural India is feeling the COVID-19 heat. IPL 2020 star ad revenue may top 2,000 crore rupees. Cap on MEIS SOPs may hit export of handsets. Lenders told to recast stressed loans by the 15th. August services activity shrinks at a slower pace. United States prepare for pre-election vaccine rollout. Last week, Prime Minister Narendra Modi says the decision on supply chains to be eased on trust. All right, and those are the top 10 headlines that's there in the Economic Times. Let's look at what are the top market headlines that's there in the newspaper. And first up, 2 more shut franking funds cash positive. Vedanta slashes book value per share of holding company. United States jobless claims give mixed picture. Rupee settles 44 paise lower at 73.47 to the dollar. And Supreme Court says no loans to be termed NPA till further orders. Now on from market headline to the corporate headlines. Reliance Retail in talks to sell stake to Silver Lake. We have Softbank mulls bidding for TikTok in India. Amazon, Flipkart look for warehousing. East Bengal gets backing from HM Bangur Group. And Mercedes CEO has marathon ambitions for India. All right, and those are the top headlines that's there in the Economic Times. But let's shift focus on to the top stories that's there in the Economic Times. And this is the story that my colleague Varun will be joining in to talk about. And this is about Kamath Panel that the RBI had constituted. They've identified 6 problem sectors and a report to be submitted to the RBI today. My colleague Varun is here to take us to which are the sectors the Kamath panel has actually flagged off. Good morning, Varun. Important story. Looks like the Kamath panel have identified the problem sectors. Which are those?
Right, Cheryl. Good morning, firstly. So the sectors are aviation, real estate, automobiles, infrastructure, and power. So, what's interesting is yesterday, if you heard the Supreme Court judgment, they've passed an interim order where they've said that there's going to be no NPA recognition till that for loans that were supposed to go bad. So essentially what we initially knew is that moratorium is supposed to go till August 31st. Now banks are supposed to start declaring any loans which became bad during that period from here on out. So that's why we as a channel also have been seeing asset quality matters from Q2 onwards. Now yesterday what they said is that no, moratorium is not on, but banks don't have to recognize. So that means that as a customer, I'm making my payments. Moratorium for me is over. But for a bank, the moratorium is not over. It's still on because they have to, basically, they do not have to disclose their NPAs right now. So, there's obviously this financial stability report which the RBI put out a while back. That was in April or May. It gave us indications that there are going to be a fair spike in NPAs. Then through the recovery story and bank data coming in better, that kind of reversed. Now let's see, the fact that this is happening, I mean, I'm not an expert, I can't speculate, but if you're essentially extending the recognition period for banks, there might be something in there that you don't want disclosed right now. But that would be speculation, so let's just wait and see what comes out from this. But yeah, based on this panel committee meeting, these are probably the 6 sectors which are hurting the most. So if you're looking at NPA trouble, aviation, we know what's happening with SpiceJet, Air India. Real estate, we all know what's happening with big real estate companies that are sitting on huge inventory and they can't sell. Automobiles has been in a rut. Infra has been in a bit of a problem thing. Power also. So these are the sectors which are kind of worst hit by COVID. And it'll be very interesting week for banking coming up. Let's see how what decision the Supreme Court next takes. I think the next hearing is on September 10th.
Yes, exactly, Varun. We'll definitely watch out for what Supreme Court has to say in the moratorium case. Also, to stay with the story, the KV Kamath Panel is likely to submit their report today to the RBI, and RBI will announce the loan restructuring guidelines by September 6th is what is written in the newspaper. Let's shift focus now to another story that's there in the Economic Times, and here you go right here. And this is about Reliance Retail. They are in talks to sell 7,500 crore rupees stake to Silver Lake. Very interesting piece of information. Last week we had the Future Retail and Reliance Retail also deal coming up. And my colleague Vinny is here to take us through the story. Vinny, a very, very interesting news piece, that is Reliance Retail is in talks with Silver Lake. Take us through the details of the story.
Cheryl, you rightly said, a very interesting thing over here that is happening now. We have seen that Reliance was raising money, and a lot of people have bought stake into Reliance Jio. Now the focus is shift to Reliance Retail for the Future Retail deal. Now Reliance Retail is in advanced talks to sell around 1.7% stake, around 1.8% stake at a value of around 7,500 to Silver Lake. Now, according to the reports, they are suggesting that the investors who have invested in the Jio platform have been given the opportunity to invest in Reliance Retail. So that's going to be very interesting to see if this is what is happening. Means are there going to be more investors in Reliance Retail as well, is something we'll keep an eye out for. And obviously if this deal materializes, goes forward, it will potentially value Reliance Retail at over 4.1 lakh crores. And according to the reports, it's suggesting that Mukesh Ambani wants to raise funds by selling minority stakes in Reliance Retail and are in talks with multiple investors. So not only Silver Lake, but we'll also keep an eye out for what are there any other investors coming in. According to this report, it suggests that he's in talks with many other investors. So surely very interesting to see now what play works out for Reliance Retail.
Absolutely, Vinny. Very interesting story. I need to watch out for what actually works out for Reliance Retail moving on. But as of now, Economic Times reporting that Reliance Retail is in talks with Silver Lake. Let's focus on to another story, and an interesting one that's there in the entire story. You'll find it on the page 8 of Economic Times, and that is the Softbank is considering to bid for TikTok in India. So Softbank is exploring assembling a group of bidders for TikTok's India assets and has been actively looking for local partners. This is as per sources to Economic Times. Over the past month, Softbank, which already owns a stake in ByteDance, has held talks with Reliance Jio, with Bharti Airtel. Also, this is for picking up a stake in TikTok India. This is about Softbank. They've held talks with Reliance Jio. They've held also talks with Bharti Airtel. Also, Softbank is also exploring other options in order to pick up a stake in TikTok's India asset. Representatives for Softbank, Reliance, as well as Bharti Airtel have declined to comment to Economic Times. The spokesperson for ByteDance also did not immediately respond to the request. But TikTok, you remember, is considering selling its operation in several countries after local governments shut out the app, citing the fear of sensitive user data was passing into the hands of Chinese government. So this is a new piece of information coming in, that Softbank is actually looking to bid for TikTok in India and is exploring assembling a group of bidders in order to look at TikTok's India assets. So this is also another story that we are picking up in Economic Times. Let's shift focus now. All eyes on Vodafone Idea's board meeting that is all set to be held today. And Vodafone Idea may raise $1.5 billion via equity is what is Economic Times is reporting. Talks are on with investment bankers, Blackstone unit, PGT partners and Prime Securities ahead in the race. What else is Economic Times picking up? Let me read it directly off the newspaper for you. So Vodafone Idea is considering raising $1 to $1.5 billion initially through equities and is in talks with local and overseas investment bankers for running the mandate. This is as per sources to Economic Times. So US-based PJT partners, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Bank of India Merrill Lynch, Prime Securities, Access Capital and Kotak Investment Banks are among those who they are having discussions with. Also, Vodafone Idea, like Economic Times I just mentioned a while back, they will be looking at initially raising cash via equities, tap the debt market later. Also, initial funds are likely to be used to strengthen the network, the operations, to arrest the fall in user base. So this is what Economic Times is picking up with regards to Vodafone Idea fundraising. Today is the board meet, all eyes on that, and we'll be closely tracking developments on that particular front. Now let's shift focus to another story that's there, Economic Times, and that is 2 more of the 6 debt schemes of Franklin Templeton mutual funds have been shut down. Have actually turned cash positive, and my colleague Jayesh is here to take us through the details of this. Jayesh, take us through the details of the stories of 2 more Franklin funds that have turned cash positive.
Good morning, Cheryl. That's right. What they have actually informed their investors that out of the 6 total funds that they had announced that they will be shutting down, 4 of them have now turned cash flow positive, with regards to their availability of cash as respect to their total assets that they manage. So the 2 additional funds that they are referring to are the Franklin India Low Duration Fund and the Franklin India Credit Risk Fund, which now have cash position of about 5% and 1% of their total respective asset under management, which is available for distribution. However, it is subject to a successful unit holder vote in that they are going to conduct shortly. The previous 2 funds that had turned cash positive, their cash position has only risen by to about 31% and 14%, which is the Franklin India Ultra Short Bond Fund and the Franklin India Dynamic Accrual Fund. So there are 4 funds which have now turned positive. Also, the total amount that they have received in the 6 schemes is close to about 6,500 crores. And the previous fortnight of, or the last fortnight of August, they have received about 1,500 crores. But, the deterrent is that the fund house cannot distribute any of this money to the unit holders, as the e-voting and the unit holders meet continues to remain suspended, with the case being fought in the Karnataka High Court. So that is the deterrent that investors will have to, go through. The fund house has also informed the investors that the active monetization of assets of the scheme and the distribution of investment proceeds to the unit holders will be possible only after the successful e-voting. So that's the update from Franklin India Mutual Fund.
Thank you, Jayesh, for taking us through the details of that story. On to another story that's there in the ET Markets page, and that is, this is the one that is the Supreme Court verdict, and that is not the verdict, it's an interim order, I beg your pardon. The loan moratorium debate is raging on now, and the Supreme Court has passed an interim order saying that the accounts not declared as non-performing assets or NPAs as on August 31st shall not be declared as NPAs till further notice. The court also went on to ask the banks not to take coercive action against the borrowers. This is actually to protect the companies during this challenging time. My colleague Abhimanyu Sharma, who is actually tracking the court developments very closely, is here with all the details. Abhimanyu, take us through what the Supreme Court had to tell in this case.
An interim order passed by the top court today has made it clear that banks cannot declare accounts as NPAs till further orders of the top court. The court will further analyze on the 10th of September if Centre can help borrowers under the Disaster Management Act. The court observed that Centre and RBI need to decide on relief for borrowers. This is something which can not only be left to banks. The court observed that the sector-wise effect of the COVID pandemic needs to be seen to customize reliefs to various sectors. Centre and RBI, meanwhile, told the top court that fears are misplaced over mass NPAs if loan moratorium is not extended beyond the 1st of September, since an account needs a minimum 90-day of default after August to be declared as an NPA. Also, Centre and RBI argued against the interest waiver, stating that the same will weaken banks which need to be strong for economic recovery. Meanwhile, the Indian Banks Association also told the top court that they were charging compound but not penal interest from borrowers during the moratorium, and banks are not rushing but rather desisting from declaring loans as NPAs.
All right, thank you, Abhimanyu, and definitely Abhimanyu will be tracking this story very closely, and we get you all the updates on that particular front. But let's take a look at all the stocks that are going to be in focus today. My colleague Vinny is here with all the list. Vinny, definitely Reliance Industries will be on the radar on back of the Reliance Retail story that's there in the Economic Times. But what are the other stocks that we need to watch out for in trade today?
So Cheryl, like you firstly said, Reliance Retail is the first one which we will watch out for. Moving on, then we'll watch out for Credit Access, where the board has approved a fundraising via preferential share issue of shares of QIP or any other combination thereof, and they are planning to raise around 1,000 crores. So that is something we'll watch out for, though there's a shareholders approval is still left over there, but I'm sure we'll keep an eye out on that, and we may see some movement in the stock today. Moving on to HAL, that's Hindustan Aeronautics, where the government has proposed to offer to sell around 5.02 lakh shares at a discounted price of 950.95 per share, and this OFS will remain open from 4th September to 9th September, so we'll keep a close eye on the stock as well. Moving on to Infosys, now the company has acquired a product design and development firm, Kaleidoscope Innovation, and this expands their engineering services portfolio by strengthening their presence in the medical device segment as well as consumer and industrial market across US. So surely there's some positive synergies over here for Infosys, and we'll keep a close eye on that. Lastly, we'll watch out for GSFC, where they have restarted their methanol plant with an installed capacity of around 525 metric tons per day. So the plant will be operating in full capacity by September 10th, is what the company is saying, and they are expecting the top line of the company to be increased by around 150 crores in the current financial year, that's current FY21. So that is something we'll watch out for, and how this actually provides synergies for GSFC.
Now let's shift focus and let's see what are the top stories that's there in the Times of India this morning. And first up, engage in talks sincerely. India is telling this to China. India, a trusted partner, Modi tells US business. Final year theory exams in Maharashtra may start from October 1st. Maharashtra adds record over 18,000 cases. India records over 83,000 cases for second day. All right, and those are the top headlines that's there in the Times of India also this morning for you. And with that, we wind down this edition of the newspaper show. Thank you for watching.